Welcome to the market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. This is Frank coming to you with the market recap for September 11th. We're sitting on a Tuesday, a strong day in the market as buyers definitely started to come back in on this little pullback. So we'll see if they can sustain that, but definitely some interesting looking charts out there. No real earnings of note tomorrow. I believe Thursday we do have a couple of S&P companies, but not tomorrow. Our big winner of the day was Activision Blizzard. Broke out of resistance early and just kind of kept running and running and running. Up over 7% today. Very strong day over there. And another interesting one from yesterday, we talked about URI. They kind of came up and we were just taking a quick look at stocks that had good days yesterday. They closed right at that resistance, broke through, and carried over very strong. So very interesting day for those stocks today in the market, no doubt about that. We did see quite a bit of buying come back in, especially in a few particular areas, starting first with our S&P 500. We've been kind of holding that breakout point, waiting for that day. Today certainly was step one of that. Very bullish candle, a lot of buying activity going on over in the S&P 500, holding that breakout point for yet another day, even more confirmation. So from a bullish perspective, gotta like what you see there, technically speaking, for sure. Nasdaq, very similar situation. We've been hanging around that trend line, that 50-day moving average, these last couple of days. And today we had a nice bullish engulfing candle. Tech was one of our strongest sectors here today, along with energy and discretionary. Very strong day in the tech sector. We've seen a lot of pullbacks within stocks in the tech sector. So there was definitely some interest there today. So very strong charts, both in the S&P and the Nasdaq. A good day in the Dow Jones, still trading this little, overall our breakout holds, but we're kind of in this little sidewaysy back and forth, lagging a little bit behind to some things. They've been a little bit off, right? Sometimes they're ahead, sometimes they're a little behind these other indexes, but nothing really has changed from a technical point of view. Still looking very bullish overall there in the short term. A little bit of consolidation in the shorter term. A strong day there, and our Russell didn't quite get going like our other indexes did today, but they did very importantly hold their breakout point. There was some back and forth. It did try to get going, just wasn't quite ready to go. I still really like where it's at from a price point of view. And now we're 3 days of kind of seeing that hold up for us. Hopefully we can get some of these bulls to jump into that index in the coming days as well. So a very strong day overall in the market, that's for sure. Materials continues to be very sideways. When you get stuck in sideways, you usually say that for a long time, but eventually it always comes out of a sideways range, and that will eventually happen. And so right now, I think you're kind of in the same place we've been for a while, neutral strategies or leaving it alone with no opinion, depending on your style, over it, at least if you're me, over in the material sector. So nothing of note from a technical point of view over there. We did see a lot of buying over in energy, over in crude, very strong day today. Let's see if we can carry over that. We did kind of have that hammer off of support after we broke the 200 last week, came back to the support level, nice little hammer. I've not felt bad about missing out on energy, but I definitely have missed out on a few opportunities in hindsight. That's okay. I chose to pass and I can live with that, but a very strong day in the energy sector, no two ways about that. Going into the financials, they kind of just hung around, still hanging out at that breakout point. Very little has changed over the last little while from a technical point of view. They're holding their own, just really were not the darling today in the market. That's for sure. We did have a little bit more upward movement in the industrials, nothing terribly dramatic, but we did show a little bit of upward movement over there. Technology, of course, as goes the Nasdaq. Our chart looks very similar. A nice, strong, bullish candle coming off of that trend line support over in the tech sector. Our staples really started to kind of lose steam. We saw that, Gravestone Doji yesterday, kind of carried over into some moderate selling here today. Overall, the trend remains up, but it doesn't seem like it's kind of the super interesting place, right now, at least as of today. So that's certainly something I'm going to continue to monitor. Certainly not changing overall a bullish stance on it, but not quite as bullish as I might be in some other areas personally. But again, that is just me. Utilities really just kind of dipped down a little bit today. A lot of back and forth action. Nothing really has changed. I'm still holding this most recent little swing support that they set up a few days ago. Obviously still holding our breakout point. So really not much has changed. Just kind of being what utilities has been lately. A couple nice days of upward movement and a nice little song and dance for a little while. It looks like it's trying to do that all over again. Healthcare, still holding that breakout point. It looked like it was trying to pull back this morning, but the bull still won't let it. It almost seems like it wants to have a pullback, and understandably so. I mean, it basically went up for 2 months without a pullback, but bulls are still on this thing. It gets into any point where they can buy, and that's exactly what they've been doing. I'm going to continue to monitor. What I ultimately will be watching for in this type of a situation is it to kind of go into this little consolidation, break to the upside, giving me confirmation that the trend's going to continue. So for me, I remain bullish, but I don't see great entry specifically on the ETF in the healthcare sector right now. I really would like to see us break out of that resistance before I kind of give it my green light again. But still overall very bullish and very strong, no two ways about that. Discretionary, another one of our top sectors here today. Buyers stepped right back into it, closing very close to resistance. Let's see how we handled that. But if we push through that, we should have an opportunity to push up a little bit further. Very strong sector overall as well in the discretionary sector right now. And then real estate is just still real estate, much like materials. These guys are a little cleaner as far as where support, where resistance, at least to me, but still in that overall sideways situation, back and forth, as I've said for several days now. Until we're out, I'm going to operate as if we're not coming out. And so either neutral strategies or just put it on the watch. Sooner or later, it will break one way or another. And then I can make a decision if it breaks the upside or the downside if it's something I do want to take advantage of. So that's where we find ourselves in our sectors. Definitely a lot of interesting things going on over in tech. Obviously, great day for energy and discretionary as well. Nobody really had too bad of a day from a sector point of view. Our dollar index continues to basically be what it's been, continues to fight with that resistance. We'll push up, we'll get knocked back down. We're still kind of waiting and seeing, right? We're stuck in this range. We're up toward resistance. We've got a ways before support. So we're either probably haven't changed our opinion for a while. We're either waiting for a breakout for a potential buying signal, or we're waiting for it to give us a confirmation to the sell side as it works back to support. So really nothing technically has changed. That often happens when things go sideways. It just gets boring for a while in that area. But luckily, there's lots of different areas for us to trade, right? Gold continues to do what it's been doing to song and dance, back and forth, really constantly closing right around that 1200. Doesn't seem to want to drop, doesn't seem to want to go to the upside. So until we get anything, to break out of that little situation, we've got these major levels. So we're probably in the same place we were a week ago, certainly the same place we were over the last several trading days over in gold. Silver briefly did break to the downside. It broke that little floor. I'm going to come to an hourly chart just to take a closer look at that one, guys. We did break that little floor. We had a flurry of selling, as you'll often see, because again, everybody saw that floor, right? That wasn't just us. Everybody knew it was there. People had their stop losses. The super aggressive bears are going to get in when that support breaks. You get that big surge to the downside. But we're not able to close. And that's why, unless you are an aggressive trader by nature and willing to take the good with the bad, it's really hard to get in the first time these things break out one way or another, because you're not getting a lot of confirmation. You're getting a better price, but you're not getting better confirmation. So we kind of had one of those days happen where super aggressive traders came in, had an opportunity for a couple of hours to take some profits. We did rally back up to kind of close in that same little trading range that we have been in this past week. Let's continue to monitor that. But really, other than a little bit of intraday activity, very similar to where we find ourselves the last several days as well over in silver. Did have some nice carry through from yesterday's nice bullish candle over in natural gas as we start kind of that upward swing back to the upside. We do kind of want to remember overall we're pretty sideways on this. Short term, we have made lower highs and lower lows. As we've talked about before, these moving averages, when we're sideways and they're kind of in the middle, to me at least, they're not as strong, but I still am going to note them. I'm not going to consider it a brick wall if I'm sideways, but I am certainly going to note it. That certainly could be an area where we face some challenge, a potential area where we could get a bearish signal that we're going to work back to support. Obviously, we haven't got that today, so we'll have to see where we find ourselves here tomorrow. But going into where we are right now, certainly very strong follow through off of yesterday's nice momentum over in natural gas, and very strong day over in crude. Yesterday when we talked about it, I was, for me, I've been waiting for it to break 70 or break 64 one way or another. I didn't expect it to have this conversation where, hey, it might happen as early as tomorrow. I'm not saying it's going to, but it could now, right? We're at 69.25. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility if it's going to break. That's certainly not too much, if you will, for it to move in one day. We do have our EIA report tomorrow, so we do have inventories that probably will factor into this. I would expect if the market likes inventory reports, that might be enough to push us through that resistance. If they don't, well, we've seen this song and dance for a while, right? It's close to 70, let's sell it. So that'll be a big report for our crude this time. I like the break of 70, as I've said, for a bit now. If we can get that break, I do believe there's upside into the 74 range. Personally, that's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll just have to wait and see what we do tomorrow, how we respond, because that inventory report can completely, give this no chance, or it can be what it needs to push through that resistance. And none of us have any idea what that report will be or how traders will interpret it. We just know that it will be there, right? So we'll definitely want to see where that is, and we'll definitely have more information tomorrow when we talk in regards to crude. But certainly a very strong day, no two ways about that, over in crude and energy here today. So very interesting day in the market, that's for sure. Nice to see after yesterday's pretty boring, at least in my opinion, day. Nice to see that we had some action here today. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for our market recap today. But as always, it's certainly my pleasure, and I do appreciate everybody's time. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Tackle Trading YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted of any new videos that we're setting up here on our YouTube channel. Be sure to follow us over at Tackle Trading on Twitter. If you did enjoy the market recap, it is always helpful and appreciated if you give it a thumbs up to let us know that we're on the right track. With that, happy trading, and I will see you in the next one.